and I think all of you probably know about this one too. It's really good. It's a daily inspirational readings. And so today, Sunday the 22nd, I begin my journey of forgiveness. Unforgiveness is a heavy bag of rocks I carry on my shoulders. When I drop the bag and begin to set the rocks aside one by one, I embark upon a healing journey. God is with and within a healing journey. God is with and within me on this journey as my constant support and strength. When forgiveness feels difficult, I need only to return my attention to Spirit constantly loving and accepting the presence within me. Reestablishing my conscious connection brings warmth and welcoming acceptance. It is an important step in an unburdening process of forgiveness. I forgive others as well as myself, knowing each act of forgiveness increases my freedom in a life to live happy and fulfilling life. Bear with one another. If anyone has a complaint against another, forgive each other, just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you must forgive. This is from Colossians 3:13. We say thank you, wonderful movement, unity movement, for all of your wonderful works. Thank you. So it is. Our speaker today came to TIC in 1993. I looked that up this morning. Her first class was in 1993. That's a long time ago. She's been through all of her classes up to the point of ministerial, where she needed to take a rest because of a lot of family things going on and a lot of stuff. And she's worked her way through that. Today she's our guest speaker. She's speaking to us on love is a reflection of God's love. Love is a reflection of God's love. Please help me welcome Cathryne Bruce Johnson. Thank you, Cathryne. Come on up.
Thank you, Reverend Mary Ann. And everyone, it's such a pleasure to be here today. I really liked our inspirational reading this morning about forgiveness, because even though we are really talking about mother's love as a reflection of God's love, we may all experience the need to forgive our mothers, to forgive ourselves. I think I appreciate that now as a more mature person. And so God bless our mothers. For the entire month of May, the Teaching of the Inner Christ at International Center has been exploring the theme, we are blessed by mother's love. Isn't that true? We are blessed by mother's love. And today we are looking at mother's love as a reflection of God's love. Let us begin with love itself. We had such great music about love today, and Emmett Fox gives us a beautiful reading about love. Love. There is no difficulty that enough love will not conquer. No disease that enough love will not heal. No door that enough love will not open. No gulf that enough love will not bridge. No wall that enough love will not throw down. No sin that enough love will not redeem. It makes no difference how deeply seated may be the trouble, how hopeless the outlook, how muddled the tangle, how great the mistake. A sufficient realization of love will dissolve it all. If only you could love enough, you would be the happiest, the most powerful being in the world. That makes me think of mother's love. The power of love is first experienced through our mothers or our mother figures in our life. Here at the Teaching of the Inner Christ, we say that love is the only power. It's one of the songs we sing here. And And the truth for me is that our love nature must be open and it must be expressed to truly experience the richness that life has to offer us. This brings us to mother. We first experience that love nature from our mothers, the mother figures in our lives. There is a Native American tradition of Mother Earth and Father Sky. So we are first loved, nurtured, protected. We're kept safe, we're encouraged. We grow, we thrive, and we strengthen to rise up to the sky, to expand and create in our world. So a mother's love nurtures our inner security and allows us to be strong and stable and confident to meet our masculine nature as we mature and forge forth in life. I have some examples of mother's love I'd like to share with you. From my memories, there was a particular time when I was quite small. I remember waking up in the deep night, afraid of whatever it might be lurking in the dark. And I knew I would be safe in my mother's arms. But it was a long way to my parents' room. So somehow I mustered up enough courage to throw off the covers, jump out of the bed, run down the hall to my parents' room. I ran to my mother's side of the bed. I woke her up. And I told her I was afraid. I must have been really little, because she just picked me up and she put me on top of her in the bed and held me in her arms. And I knew I was safe. I knew I was loved. I knew I was secure. And I fell asleep on top of my mother with her arms around me and the scent of her all about me, knowing that all was well. And we slept through the night. Just a wonderful memory of my mother. I remember also how my mother nurtured me through my creative endeavors. My mother was a teacher. I was never in her formal schoolroom class, but she was my teacher as well. And she always exclaimed, she always made a big deal out of my works of art. And she did it in such a way that I believed her. I believed that I made the greatest things ever. Oh, I have shared this before. My parents divorced when I was young, in second grade. And then I moved with my mother and my sister to a different town, out of state, to a different school. It was a confusing time, a time of insecurity. And I was in a class at the school where we worked with wood. So I must have been 7 or 8 years old. And in this wood art class at such a young age, I was able to saw wood, was able to cut it. I got a hold of hammer nails, we could create things. And I made this big block of pieces of wood, and I had painted each of these pieces with different colors. I had designed it with stripes and polka dots and geometric designs. And I had just put together this big conglomerate masterpiece of color and texture and childhood joy. Well, I enjoyed doing this. I didn't think much about it. It was probably therapy for me, whatever a 7 or 8 year old can have as therapy. And one day my mother unexpectedly came into the classroom and she saw this piece of work. I had just finished nailing together, and she spent such great time examining it. She said, "Look at this." and she touched it and felt all the textures, and she complimented me on how the colors came together, how imaginative and creative I was. I remember the way that she lit up surprised me, and how it made me feel valuable and appreciated. It impacted me at this young age, that I could create something beautiful and wonderful. And I felt beautiful and wonderful because of my mother reflecting God's love to me that way. And of course, there's the mama bear aspect of mother that we may have experienced or been from time to time. My mother certainly knew the right times to growl at me, to keep me out of the street, wash my hands, be nice to my sister, to eat my spinach and my green vegetables and healthy foods, to stay out of the cookies when it wasn't the right time. And my mother also stood up for me when that was needed. There were a couple of babysitters at different times who treated me poorly. I thought they yelled at me. I didn't like the way they treated me. I complained to my mother, and she just got me a different babysitter. And I felt like my mother listened to me, and she stood up for me. I appreciate the mama bear aspect of our mothers. Another precious memory I have with my mom was during the time before her passing. I was able to visit her while she was in an assisted living facility during the COVID times, because it was coming near to the end of her life. I often worried about doing enough for her. I was, in a way, the mothering aspect for my mother. Nurtured her, letting her know I cared for her, asking her if there's anything she needed, being with her as much as I could. And I remember I would ask her, "Mom, what do you need? What can I bring for you?" And she would continuously say, "Just bring wonderful you." That is all I need. Wonderful you. And I realize now, and I knew then too, that the love that we were sharing was the most important thing. It was more than just love between mother and daughter. It was that infinite divine love, God's love, that permeates all that we do. And I experienced that richness through my relationship with my mother. I felt so blessed by my mother's love. And I felt she felt blessed by mine. How wonderful. Let's talk about God. At the teaching of the inner Christ, we learn about the divine feminine, which we are really looking at for the month of May, and the divine masculine, which we will likely look at in June as Father's Day approaches. So, Mother as the divine feminine is love itself. It is infinite, it is boundless, and it is much more than our human dance of limitation, expansion, conflict, resolution. Love is all that behind it. And in my experience, God and love are not separate. They are the same. I had a beautiful meditation of God and love. God looking at itself is love, seeing itself. God looking at itself is love, seeing itself. And the mirror is our human experience. The mirror is our experience of relationships, of God, looking at God, at love. I felt that lifting when I think about God and love. In our human journey, our mothers and our mother figures are the way showers of love. I look at the mother aspect, our mother nature, as a portal to the love nature in our world. Our mothers are our first teachers of love. If we think about it, I thought about it, my gosh, the love that's there just when we're not even a self, as just the clump of cells that is coming into life in the womb. That's love in action. And it's a wonderful month, a wonderful time to appreciate the love it takes to bring us forward into life as these human beings. Thank you, wonderful God, for that. So our mothers are our first teachers about love, and they reveal that love is the only power to me. What does love do? Well, love lifts, love heals. Confusion or indecision? What would Mom do? I might have asked that as a young person. I'm a little better at trusting myself now. But what would the mother in me, nurturing myself, do? What does love know in this situation? What about fears? What about resentments? Sometimes fear leads to a sense of resentment. There's an underlying fear there, especially with the social, the economic, the political issues in our nation, around the world. There seems to be a lot of discord, but what does love know? That's something we find out from within. Sometimes there's that feeling of intimidation, of seeming like there's no compromises, of things being in opposites and separation. Arguments sometimes over power, over control, whatever the sense of fairness is. These are very powerful issues that we're looking at right now. And what does love know in this situation? What is the way of love here? As Emmett Fox says, a sufficient realization of love will dissolve it all. That gives me a lot of hope. And that gives me a lot of comfort when I'm feeling at discord with the world or what I'm seeing. So here at TIC, we have wonderful tools to lift us and to bring us into that attunement of that love nature. Not only do we remember that love nature through our mothers, but we have a contact with that inner center of divinity. We call it the inner Christ, the I am self. We learn to do that here at the teaching of the inner Christ. We learn how to heal vibrational things around us that might be lower or discordant. That's an interesting word, but really we do entity healings, we do thought form healings to bring ourselves, to bring the vibration in alignment with love. We also do prayer, as we talked earlier in the service, that we pray in a certain manner called the Rukat. We recognize God, we unify God, we make our claim, we accept the claim that we made, and we give thanks that it is done. So powerful. We also have inner Christ counseling with our leaders that tune in to the love vibration, the Christ vibration, and will help anyone who needs assistance with this. And all that is wrapped up in a wonderful curriculum of classes, starting with inner sensitivity. I had to think about that. The inner sensitivity class and the book is Being Christ. So these are powerful tools we have at the Teaching the Inner Christ to tune in to the love vibration. A mother's love, tuning in to that mother's love, bridges any gap we may feel. So let us remember to reflect a mother's love to ourselves, nurture, be loving to ourselves, and also to the world around us, to the people around us. Let us be kind, let us be gentle, let us be nurturing. Let us encourage joy wherever we go. And let's stand up for whatever our sacred boundaries are, whatever's right for us. Acknowledge and stand up for our own sacred boundaries, which become known to us through our inner Christ contact, through our meditation. We know that mother's love reflects God's love, and love is the only power. And back to our leader today, Reverend.